It all started with one small decision, to save my first $100. I thought it was nothing. I laughed, thinking it would take forever to make a difference, but what I did not know then was that I had just rolled the first snowball that would one day change my entire life. Back then, I was just an ordinary worker. My paycheck barely lasted until the next. I watched others talk about flipping, crypto, and shortcuts to wealth, and I almost believed them. But deep inside, I knew there was no magic, only motion. Every dollar I saved felt like a drop of water in the ocean, too small to matter. But one night, I read a quote by Charlie Munger. The first $100,000 is a beach, but you gotta do it. I laughed, but something in that truth stuck with me. That quote changed everything. I realized wealth was not built by luck, but by layers, one habit stacked on another, one decision added to the next. Like a snowball rolling downhill, it starts small, but once it builds momentum, it becomes unstoppable. I stopped chasing excitement. No more gambling with money I did not have. No more next big thing. Instead, I focused on one thing, consistency. Saving a little, investing a little, and repeating it again and again until it became part of me. It was not easy. There were days when it felt pointless. When I saw others buying new cars, new phones, new everything, I felt left behind. But I reminded myself, snowballs do not grow at the top of the hill. They grow while rolling. Each paycheck, I saved 10%, then 15, and then 20. At first it hurt, but over time it felt empowering. Every small sacrifice was an investment in peace of mind. The snowball was moving, slow but steady. I started learning about compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world, as they say. My money began making money. It was quiet, invisible progress, but every month my balance looked a little heavier, like that snowball gathering more weight with every roll. What surprised me most was how my mindset changed. The more I saved, the less I craved. The more I invested, the calmer I felt. I was no longer chasing wealth, I was attracting it through patience. Years passed, and that small snowball became something powerful. It did not happen overnight, but it happened because I never stopped pushing. Every time life tried to melt it, I added another layer of effort. And soon, it began rolling on its own. I started to understand the math behind growth. It was simple, but powerful. Time multiplied everything. Even a small amount invested early could outgrow a large amount started late. The snowball was not about size. It was about motion and direction. Most people underestimate how slow beginnings feel. The first few years were boring. My balance barely moved. But that is where most people quit, right before momentum begins. I told myself, be patient. The snowball is rolling even if you cannot see it yet. Then something incredible happened. My investments started paying dividends. Tiny amounts at first, a few dollars here and there. But those dollars reinvested became more dollars. I had built a system that grew while I slept. It was no longer about working harder. It was about working smarter. That was when I truly felt the meaning of compounding. Every dollar I earned was like a new snowflake joining my snowball. The more it grew, the faster it rolled. And the faster it rolled, the more unstoppable it became. I stopped checking my investments every day. I did not need excitement anymore. I trusted the process. Patience had turned from weakness into strength. My wealth was growing quietly, like a tree under winter snow, preparing for spring. The most surprising part was how my thinking changed in everyday life. I started applying this snowball effect to everything: skills, health, habits. Small daily actions compounded into massive results over time. Success was no longer a mystery. It was a math equation. While others chased trends, I built habits. I learned that consistency beats intensity. A little progress done daily beats big efforts done rarely. Just like snow, progress sticks only when it falls layer by layer. There were times I doubted myself. When markets dropped, I felt fear creeping in. But I reminded myself, snowballs melt only when you stop rolling them. So I kept going. I invested through every season, trusting that winter always ends. One morning, I looked at my investment account and realized something shocking. I had crossed $100,000. I remembered Charlie Munger's words, the first $100,000 is a beach. He was right. It took years, but that milestone was not money. It was proof of discipline. That day, I understood why people call it the snowball effect. Because once you hit that point, your money begins moving faster than you can push it. Momentum becomes your partner. Effort becomes acceleration. The snowball was no longer just rolling, it was flying. The snowball had become a teacher. It taught me that success is not built in explosions. It is built in accumulation. One quiet day at a time, one smart decision after another. I realized that the secret of wealth was never speed. It was direction. I stopped asking, how long will it take? And started asking, how far can I go if I never stop? That mindset changed everything. The snowball effect was no longer about money. It was about mastery, about building myself one layer at a time. I applied the same principle to my career. I stopped chasing promotions and started focusing on improving one skill every day. Slowly, people noticed. My income rose. Not because I demanded more, but because I became worth more. That is the truest form of wealth. As my wealth grew, so did my humility. I realized compounding works best when ego stays small. The bigger your pride, the harder it is to stay consistent. The snowball only rolls smoothly when it stays round, balanced, grounded, and humble. I began mentoring friends who were still chasing shortcuts. I told them, the small wins you ignore today are the foundations of the freedom you crave tomorrow. Most of them wanted fast results, but the few who listened saw their own snowballs start to form. One of my friends asked, how do you stay so patient? I smiled and said, because I learned that impatience is expensive. Every mistake I made in my 20s came from wanting quick results. Now, I was finally willing to let time do the heavy lifting. It was funny. Once I stopped rushing, everything sped up. My investments grew faster, my opportunities expanded, and my stress disappeared. The universe rewards those who move with purpose, not panic. That is the quiet magic of consistency. I looked back at the old me, the one chasing trends, gambling on hype, and confusing luck for skill. I felt gratitude. Without those mistakes, I would never have learned patience. The snowball effect begins with failure. That is how you build the base. Now, when I hear people brag about doubling money overnight, I smile quietly. Because I know that real wealth does not need to shout. Compounding works in silence, and silence compounds strength. The louder someone claims success, the smaller their snowball usually is. My snowball had become unstoppable, not because of luck, but because I never stopped pushing it. What started as saving a few dollars turned into financial freedom. But more importantly, it turned into discipline, confidence, and peace. The snowball was not just my money, it was me. The snowball effect taught me that time is not the enemy, it is the multiplier. Every day you stay consistent, time becomes your silent partner. It works while you sleep, while you work, even while you rest. The greatest wealth builder is not money, it is patience. Most people quit when progress feels invisible. But what they do not see is that the snowball is still moving, even in silence. The unseen growth is the most powerful kind. Every moment of discipline compounds into results that appear all at once, like a miracle that was never magic. The first $100,000 took me years. The next $100,000 took half the time. The one after that, even faster. The snowball effect rewards endurance. Once you survive the climb, gravity becomes your ally. That is why Munger was right. The beginning hurts, but the rest flows. Eventually, I realized that money was only part of the lesson. The real wealth was self-control. The snowball effect works in character too. The more discipline you build, the easier it becomes to stay disciplined. Small efforts turn into habits. Habits turn into strength. I began seeing the snowball effect in relationships, health, and learning. Reading 1 page a day became 10 books a year. Walking 10 minutes daily became lifelong fitness. Saying no to small temptations became saying yes to big dreams. That is how compounding truly changes a life. People asked me, when does it get easier? I said, when you stop starting over. Every time you quit, your snowball melts. Every time you keep going, it strengthens. The difference between the rich and the struggling is not intelligence, it is persistence through boredom. I used to chase goals that faded. Now I build systems that last. The snowball effect is not a sprint, it is a strategy. Once you learn to fall in love with steady motion, you never go back to chaos. You begin to crave consistency more than excitement. The more I grew, the quieter my life became. I stopped bragging, stopped comparing, stopped rushing. Compounding thrives in silence. It is not loud or glamorous. It is calm, patient, and certain. I no longer wanted quick wins. I wanted steady wisdom. Looking back, I realized my snowball was not made of money. It was made of time, effort, and belief. Every late night, every dollar saved, every choice to continue, it all stuck together. I had not just built wealth. I had built momentum, purpose, and freedom. So if you are watching this, remember this. Everyone starts with a tiny snowball. It feels small, it feels slow, but if you keep rolling, it becomes unstoppable. Be patient, stay consistent, and let time do its work. Because in the end, the snowball does not just build wealth, it builds you. If you truly want to make a change, save this video and listen to it again. Let it remind you that small steps build big results. I will be posting more money, mindset, and growth content right here on this channel. So if you enjoyed this one, hit that subscribe button, join our journey, and let's grow together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.